Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to COASTER-net Update. We've got some breaking news here in the early morning out of Austell, Georgia, where we've just learned that it is now official that the former Georgia Cyclone will be RMC'd and iron horsed, and it will now become Twisted Cyclone. Now, Danny, we've looked at the POV, we've looked at all the promotional materials here. What are your initial impressions of the new Georgia Cyclone, Twisted Cyclone?
Well, I'm still waiting for the second half of Twisted Cyclone to be shown in the POV here, but no, it's again this goes along with what we've been talking about the last few weeks and what we expected here. This is not a surprise. First reaction, I like the blue track. I think that should have been done with Wicked Cyclone up at Six Flags New England because that coaster had the same color. So it's nice to see that they are actually doing just a straight up blue. We kind of saw a little bit of the blue with Twisted Colossus a few years back, but we are going to get a blue RMC, which it looks really nice. The wood looks like it's going to be straight wood, so they'll probably do a lot of replacement of the wood structure, which is maybe why you see a lot of it coming down. It will not be painted white according to the renderings, and maybe the other reason they're tearing a lot of the ride down is because they've kind of knocked off a good chunk of this coaster originally. Those of you who know the Georgia Cyclone or know any of the Cyclone patterned wood coasters know that it kind of makes 2-3 complete circuits around the kind of around the layout, and as you put it, there are 2 drops that go right next to the station and past the station. Twisted Cyclone will only have 1, so they basically at the 2/3 way of the ride where the ride kind of crosses near the brake run. Oh, sorry, there's my alarm for work as we're up here early in the morning here doing this shortly after the announcements here. When the track goes to go by the brake run and does the second airtime hill that's near the station, that's where they've actually just connected this ride to the brake run.
Yeah.
So the original Georgia Cyclone was just under 3,000 feet. The good old RCDB tells me that it was 2,970. This ride looks like it'll be at least a couple hundred feet shorter. So we're probably looking in the 2,500 to 2,600 foot length range. And the initial reaction is, well, that's awfully short. But I guess the counter argument to be made there is we talk about, I at one point said I thought Georgia Cyclone was a little too small maybe to do the full layout and that I would be worried about the speed dying out at the end. This is maybe a fix to that issue because they're saying, well, we're not going to make it the full length. We're going to cut it short 2/3, kind of like they did with New Texas Giant, and say we're not going to give it time to die with the speed at the end. So I think that's kind of maybe what they did here.
Well, and that's been my criticism of a lot of these smaller RMCs with Wicked Cyclone and Storm Chaser is how slow they get towards the end of the ride.
But have you ridden it with the new wheels?
Well, I rode Wicked Cyclone with different sets of wheels, different times of the year, and it still felt like it was going to valley at the end every single time. So I really, a lot of people, we see a lot of people complaining right now across YouTube, across social media about how short this is. I think this is actually a really good move for these smaller RMCs that, hey, cut off a portion of it. Let's pack it with a lot of power in the part that you do have. Let's get it to the brake run so that it's still at a decent clip. And, who cares if it's a shorter ride? It's going to help wait times. It's going to help dispatch, hopefully. I think this is a really good compromise to take a wood coaster that only about you and a few other people were saying was still good. I thought it was jackhammery the last time I went, the last time I rode it was probably like 2 summers ago. I thought it was jackhammering there with all the topper track.
They make a new medication for those that
stop it.
Are too rough. It's called Grow a Set.
Yeah.
I think it's available at your local pharmacy.
Yeah.
There's one other point I wanted to bring up, but I'll let you finish first.
So I really think that this is the perfect compromise for the smaller wood coaster of how you can take a smaller wood coaster and RMC it you were just complaining about, about the, the ride at Lake Compounce, was it Wildcat up there, and
Yeah.
how jackhammery that is. You're like, well, it's too small to be an RMC. Well, maybe it's not anymore,
Well, that's 30 feet shorter in height than Georgia Cyclone was.
Yeah, but you can add 30 feet to drop with RMC. That's no issue.
Yeah, you could. That's
so I think this is going to open up a whole new set of RMCs maybe, and showing us what they will do. And I'm perfectly okay with them going short, but keeping the power throughout the ride. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and hopefully that's what this does, because it does look like there's some good elements. We've got, we kind of said that that first turnaround, you had the opportunity to kind of do one of those step-up underflips that they did on the Joker out of Discovery Kingdom. And then you could kind of do the reverse of it, drop, and do the barrel roll type drop out of that turn. They've done both. So you get two inversions right off the bat there. It kind of actually looks a lot like what Steel Vengeance is doing underneath the lift hill.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the first element on this ride. And then you've got a wave turn. You've kind of got a double up. You've got a couple overbanks. You've got a double down. You've got a 0G roll. You do have a couple of your signature at this point, small RMC airtime pop hills towards the end. We'll see what kind of speed those are taken with. The other thing, so I think this one, there's reasons to be excited about this one. Initial thoughts, I don't think it's going to be the best Iron Horse out there. I think obviously haven't.
I don't think it's going to be the worst either.
I don't think it very possibly could not be the worst. Like we said, we're not ones to judge rides typically before we ride them on this show here. So I think there's potential for this one to be very good. The other thing that I really want to bring up here real quick is I think the logo looks really, really nice. And I really am a big fan of that logo, and I think it's going to market well. I think it's going to look good on merchandise, especially with the colors. I think that logo with the yellow text, and the yellow text is not on every version of this logo that I've seen. The Six Flags official stat sheet here actually has it as white text. In the Twisted Cyclone text is white, but I've seen versions where it's actually yellow. So I think the version where it's yellow on a bright blue shirt is going to look really nice, and it's absolutely a shirt that I'm going to buy. I found a stat sheet here real quick. So we've got hybrid wood and steel roller coaster, 3 head over heels inversions. So once again, we've got 3 inversions, which keeps Steel Vengeance at the record for an Iron Horse with 4 inversions. So that's maybe interesting to note. Weightless 360-degree twisting, 0 gravity roll, insanely steep 75 initial degree drop. Jaw-dropping reverse cobra roll sends riders perpendicular to the ground. Tops out at 96 feet. So the height is pretty much not changing here. 96 feet from an original height of 95 feet. So we're not going to change in height. 10 airtime moments. Black and red classic convertible coaster trains, which is something we're seeing out of RMC with the newer wheel assemblies and kind of the newer chassis here. We're seeing some additional theming between this ride and Twisted Timbers. We're seeing a little bit of more extravagant theming, kind of how we saw with Lightning Rod, the front of the car. That seems to be something that RMC has been doing a lot of. So the track length is 2,340 feet. So we're seeing the length, basically 600 feet is coming off of this ride, which is not quite a third of the ride. But we're seeing a good, about a quarter of the ride being taken off. So we'll see how that ends up. We'll see how that ends up going. Manufactured Rocky Mountain Construction and arriving in 2018. So we do get our length, we do get our height, we get 10 airtime moments. Some of those are going to be inversions for sure. There's potential here. There's potential for this ride to be really good.
Well, and the final point of the logo I want to make here is I find it strange that this logo also follows suit along with Steel Vengeance, where that hurricane logo that we were talking about, we said on the last show,
talked about that.
Is that the text start like twisting like the hurricane logo? Well, once again, we clearly have the hurricane logo now, and it's steel. And in the background, you have the pieces of wood that also look like the boards that were put up over the entrance that said Hurricane Harbor on it.
Yeah.
So all of those clues that we kind of, looked at kind of all came together here. And once again, you look at that last clue, we said, with the Game of Thrones feel to it, that you had them reanimating, Georgia Cyclone here, bringing it back. But also those blue eyes from that we saw in the middle are, with the outline of the blue and the blue track. So all that kind of ties together here, which in a very nice little package. So all that makes sense now, and I really like this logo. Like, this may make me want to go to Georgia just to go get a T-shirt or something.
Yeah, this is certainly one of the better logos I think we've seen come out in recent time. Some people think the Wicked Cyclone logo is a little bit too cartoony. I've always been a fan of the Wicked Cyclone logo, but this one I like better.
Yeah, for sure. So we'll have some other shows. This is our first show on the Six Flags announcements. We'll have a whole slew of shows coming up later today and tomorrow. So please stay tuned here to COASTER-net Update. I'm, of course, Andrew Barczyk from Chicago, Illinois.
And Danny Miller watching the sun come up in Binghamton, New York.
Well, I'm not supposed to be up for another 2 hours here, so I'm not very happy.
Yeah.
So right on, Ride Warriors.
See you guys.